Amazing You podcasts and YouTube channels, the channels where stories of resilience, triumph, and unwavering hope come to life. And in each episode, we dive into the inspiring journey of individuals who have faced the toughest challenges heads on and emerged victorious. Our aim is to be a beacon of hope, offering a guiding light to those navigating through difficult times. And whether you are dealing with health challenges, professional setbacks, or personal struggles, this challenge is dedicated to uplifting your spirit and showing you that even in the darkest moments, there is a path to hope and triumph. So join us as we share powerful stories that transcend adversity, reminding you that resilience is a force within us all. So be prepared to be inspired to find the strength to navigate life challenges. So this is Amazing You channel where hope takes center stage. I am your host, Dr. Rani Thanacoody. I am a clinical hypnotherapist using rapid transformational therapy method. I am a Mars Venus life and relationship coach, breathwork coach, astrologer, tarot reader, past life regression practitioner, chakra practitioner, and life force compassion practitioner. And I would like to say a big thank you to the audience for subscribing, watching, and sharing. And today I have the immense pleasure to introduce you to a very special gentleman. His name is Jeff Higgins. Jeff is an entrepreneur and a public speaker. And his story is interesting and incredible journey he's been in. And when I was talking to him, I was blown away because Jeff has experienced child abuse. He also experienced the loss of an alcoholic mother and siblings. And he has himself been imprisoned, found guilty of homicide, and have been an alcoholic. And through all that, these different journeys of the lows and the highs, he has come up victorious today. And he is here going to share with you his journey so that this will help you on your path. So welcome, Jeff, to Amazing You.
Oh, thank you, Rani. It's such a pleasure to be here today with you. I'm excited to be on, like you said, spreading hope, right? And that's your mission. That's my mission.
Yes, indeed. Yes, because, at this time, so many people need to hear words of encouragement, to hear positive words, because that's what will keep them going, because staying positive is extremely, extremely important, and having people who reinforces that by sharing their stories. So I am very, very grateful for you today for taking your time. And I was blown away what you told me a week ago. And I say, you need to be on the podcast. We need you. And you are here to help to shed light, to show light to people who are in really tough times. So my first question to you, Jeff, would you please share with us briefly about your story? Thank you.
Yeah. And you're right. Like my daughter says, adulting is hard. Life throws us curveballs and challenges all the time, and it can take its toll on us. Even just the day to day of raising a family. Your story doesn't need to be extraordinary, but mine is. I grew up in a kind of a broken family. My older stepbrother and stepsister, so I was the younger stepchild, right?
Okay.
Kind of spoiled, and so they abused me physically. Mom was an alcoholic, so she wasn't in any real position to control these two out of control children. My brother was arrested, put in juvenile detention many times. He was a violent individual too. And I think an important concept I like to point out here is that my brother, and it's wrapped in a story. My brother was kind of a violent individual, and he would get in fits of rage, would punch holes in the walls of our home. I recall several. One of them, my mother took a smiling picture of our family off of the buffet and hung it over the hole in the wall. And to me, that's a reminder that's a reminder, Randy, that, you can't fix the hole until you're willing to take the picture down. And I get it. We hang up the picture on a day-to-day basis because nobody wants to hear all of our woes and our problems or anything. But in order to fix that hole, you got to take down the smiling picture. And I think transparency is incredibly important for our healing. And that's why I tell my story, right? Because I want to help others. But when I was 11 years old, my mother died in a drunken car accident. She drove her car on the wrong way on the highway. I'm thankful every day that she didn't hurt or kill somebody else. When I was 14 years old, 3 years later, my brother died in a car accident. He had a beer in his hand and what was left of a six-pack on the floor of his car when he ran into the back of a semi-truck. My sister, on the other hand, she was not handling our childhood well. What happened to us, the circumstances. And, I see this, right? People who take our struggles and our difficulties and play the pitiful me game. And that's what she did. And it destroyed her life. And she turned to alcohol also. My sister was in the hospital once when I visited her, and I said, Krista, I said, I've had to bury Mom and I've had to bury Tim. Don't make me have to bury you too. Unfortunately, she broke that promise that she made to me that day when I was called to the hospital one last time to make the decision to remove life support. I ended up spending the next 3 days with her while she slowly died. And then 3 months after my sister passed away, the biggest storm of all hit my life. And that was when I had a car accident. And my passenger, my good friend and golf buddy, he didn't survive. I was sentenced for vehicular homicide and spent time in the Hamilton County Justice Center, also known as jail, right? And subsequently, my own alcoholism, turned into a rage that almost consumed me. And, when people hear my story, usually, and I think it was the first question you asked me too. So how did you survive? How do you get to this point? After living through all of that. And that's what I talk to people about.
Thank you, Jeff. It is really a very powerful experience that you've been going through as a child, and it's very traumatizing, because I am a clinical hypnotherapist and I have clients who experience all sorts of traumas, very similar to what you are saying. And from your story, we can very clearly see that it doesn't come from you, it comes from intergenerational trauma that has been carrying on from generation to generation and passed down until.
Absolutely. I believe in that. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And childhood trauma, there's a book, and you're probably familiar with this. It's a seminal work called The Body Keeps the Score.
Yes.
Yeah, and it's about how, childhood trauma affects us physically. Whether it's physical abuse or not, that our bodies are actually different when we suffer through trauma as a childhood because of what happened to us during our formative years. It's amazing stuff how this can live on well past our childhood, and I certainly had some of that myself.
Oh yeah, that is a great book. I would recommend the readers to look at, by Dr. Bessel van der Kolk. And there is Dr. Gabor Mate as well, who talks a lot about trauma and alcoholism, and he's got so many books. And trauma does so many things to us, and it is not only what happens to us, but it's what happens inside of us. And I would like you to share with us, how long did you stay in jail, and how did you manage to get off the alcohol and to become now somebody who is productive in society, contributing? Because there might be people listening who are in that situation, who are in jail, or who are still drinking a lot,
Oh
or
yeah.
taking drugs. What can you share with us? How did you manage to make that shift? Because it was a real shift, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, and yeah, you bring up a good point. What I always say is there are the jails we build, and then there are the jails we build in our minds.
Mm.
And very oftentimes we live in these jails that we build in our minds. And it's very important, I think, that for me, I had to grab control of my focus. It's all about what we are willing to set our mind and our actions to on a daily basis. And let me explain that. That doesn't mean, like go out and climb a mountain. What that means is too oftentimes we are willing to be sitting on the sidelines while thoughts race through our mind, good thoughts, bad thoughts, and different thoughts. And we're not taking control of our focus and our mind and our actions and what we do every day. And all of the things that I tell people about, recommendations that I make for helping people to have a great mental wellness and to get to a better place in their life. None of it will happen unless we're willing to really take control of our thought process. And I know that seems kind of Pollyannish because we always talk about, having a positive mindset, but it is absolutely true that, we're going to get what we focus on all day long. And too often, we have 60,000 thoughts a day, I believe it is. 95% of our thoughts, when we're not concentrating on a problem, are about ourselves. All right. 80% of our thoughts are negative.
Yeah.
You do the math, right? Our natural state, and this isn't a condemnation, right? This is our natural state as human beings, I believe, that we will tend to go kind of negative. And so I believe that we can take control of our minds, and we take control of our spiritual well-being by taking control of our thought processes on a daily basis. And it's not just our thought processes, it's also what we spend our time doing, right? If you spend your time on physical fitness, you'll get stronger. If you spend your time on doing acts of kindness, these things have their effect as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, I'm sorry, but that was kind of my thought process in jail, right? You asked about jail, and I forgot about that. You asked about jail, and that was my low point, right? That was, boy, I didn't know you could get that low, Randy. All the inspirational sayings, all of the well wishes, all of the prayers, all of the Christian music. None of that seemed to matter one little bit. There is a place like that, and it's a lot of people get there, and I encourage people hang on because there is a way out. I'll read to you if I may.
Yes.
I found this as I was in jail.
Okay.
In my jail Bible, right, and it's underlined
Right.
in Job, and it says, "Why does God bother giving light to the miserable? Why bother keeping bitter people alive? Those who want in the worst way to die and can't, who can't imagine anything better than death, who
Mm.
count the day of their death and burial as the happiest day of their life. What is the point of life when it doesn't make sense, and when God blocks all the roads to meaning?" December the 9th, 2017, from the Hamilton County Justice Center.
Mm.
I came back. I won't say, I hate saying I came back. You never arrive.
Mm.
But I can guarantee you that from my experience, and not just mine, but many I've seen, there is always a better day ahead if you hang in there and you just keep making one step at a time. And that's what I encourage people. It can get really, really dark. I know that. Been
Mm.
there. But you have to hang on to the fact that the better day does lie ahead.
Yeah. And it was your will to live, to thrive, to live a better life that make you that took you out of that place, And sometimes we have to go in the darkest night of the soul, they call it, We
Yeah.
have to experience that, really go in that dark place within ourselves, because within us there is dark and light, and when we experience those really dark moments, and then there is a breakthrough, and then we realize either we get out of it, we stay there and we die, or we start to look up and how we can come out of it, and then our life changes completely, like yours. You know,
Yeah.
so many people I have met, they have gone through that dark moment. I experienced that as well, Jeff. One time I was at a point, I left my job. I didn't even know where I was going. I didn't know what next for me, but I knew that there was something else that God wants me to do, you know, that because
So
I
you just
lost my job and I had to go back home, and it's like everybody was telling me, why do you want to go back again to the UK? But I say, no, there's something in my heart telling me I can't just sit and do nothing, you know? I have to do something with my life, and there is something for me. And then that gave me the motivation when I thought that in listening to that inner voice. I'm
yeah.
sure you have experienced that as well.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to, many people give up, Randy.
Mm,
My sister gave up.
yeah.
Many people give up. And it, I think that it's important for each of us for me, it was like, you have a choice to make. You can either have a life or you can just die alive.
Yeah.
And what purpose would that serve? So I could be living a corpse of a life, but I decided that was a hell worse than dying itself. And I would, so you have a choice. I think each of us has that choice. I've seen a lot of people who have made the wrong choice, and it saddens me, and that's why I do what I do. But yeah, at some point, I made that choice that I was not going to I was not going to live a corpse of a life. That I was going to have a life of meaning and purpose beyond my difficulties, and not just beyond my difficulties, because of my difficulties.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much. It's really, I really am inspired by listening to your story, you know, and I have a teacher who said that we are all very brave souls to be on earth at this moment in time, because we are all, there is no exception, all of us, we go through some dark times, we experience some challenges, but we are here to rise up to, you know, because if we give up on life, we are not giving up on life only, we are giving up on ourselves.
Right.
So if we love ourselves, you know, if we have love for ourselves, we have to do what is good for us, what would make us happy. So it starts with us, inside of
Absolutely.
us,
Yeah.
you know, and when we go within ourselves and start to do things, make the right choices, like you said, for ourselves, and then we start to shift our life, to change our outcome, and to live a much happier and abundant life. And I used to think of that before doing the inner work and doing the personal development, that it was always the world outside that was affecting me. You know, we blame everything from outside, and
Right. Right. I know that's what I was talking about earlier, right?
absolutely,
We
yeah,
just allow these thoughts and these, to come
yeah,
in, and we don't try to, fight them. We don't, try to have counter thoughts, and life comes at us fast and furious. And you know what? And it's not just, people who have tragic, difficult stories, right? It's every day. Like I was saying earlier, the regular person that maybe you're going through a divorce, maybe it is something difficult, maybe you've lost a child, but maybe it's just, hey, raising a family, having a job, all of this stresses us out every day, and can, diminish our effectiveness as human beings if we allow it. And there's, very easy steps that each of us can take to not allow that to happen.
yes, yes, yes. And would you like to share with us, please, Jeff, You talk about different steps that people can take. What are some of the steps that you can share with the audience today so that they can have a better life?
Yeah. So, I talk about four main points, and like I said, it's all about focus. You have to be willing to put the work in, right? And so this isn't a passive process. Each of us, I think, on a daily basis has to take charge of and responsibility for our thought processes in order to have better mental health and well-being, to have a stronger spirit. And I talk about one of the things that you brought up, and I'll bring up this one main point. We could probably talk about this for an hour alone, but is finding meaning and purpose, right? Many people are familiar with the 5 stages of grief. Bessel van der Kolk wrote it, I believe, is in the '60s, and it's pretty much become the standard, right? Denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. Based on their work together, her protege, David Kessler, wrote another book later on, and it's called The 6th Stage of Grief, and it's called Finding Meaning and Purpose. That we shouldn't look on our difficulties all the time as just being negatives on the ledger sheet, right? That finding meaning and purpose in our struggles and our difficulties is very commonplace. Many people do it. And I'd like to encourage people, those 5 or 6 steps of grief, that applies to a lot of things, but it's not mandatory, right? You don't move through stages. There are amount of time that you spend in each of those stages. And we have to really be careful. And this is part of that focus thing, right? Be careful to make sure that you don't spend too much time in, 4 of those 5 or 6 stages are not places you want to be stuck, right? But you want to move on, be able to move on to bigger and better things like acceptance and finding meaning and purpose. So one of the most important things that I tell people about is finding meaning and purpose, because I think it's so important to us in our lives. And to who we are as human beings. One of the places, I talk to people about, where to find meaning and purpose, because oftentimes that can be hard for people to kind of get their arms around. But from the National Institute of Health here in the U.S., it says, they have this in one of their papers. Scholars have long recognized that meaning in life is an important psychological need.
Yeah.
But more people feel meaningful, the more they experience overall positive psychological well-being. Moreover, meaning reduces the risk for depression, addiction, suicide, and meaning is also positively associated with physical health and longevity. This is well known. This is not, something new that Jeff just came up with. We've known for a long time that meaning and purpose in our lives is very important. I'll tell you a personal story. A friend of mine used to be a cop, and he was with people very oftentimes when they were dying. And he said in their last 15 seconds, they usually said, or last 30 seconds, they usually said 2 things. Number 1, I wish I had more time. Regret. We'll talk more about that later. Yeah. Number two is, did I make a difference? So I find that very telling, that it is so important to each of us in our human spirit and being that we make a positive impact on this world. And I would caution everybody, this goes beyond just raising a family, and that's kind of our responsibilities that we take on. And those are all very important purposes to have in life, but it has to be something bigger than yourself. It has to be something outside yourself. And one of the key ways I tell people that I've found for finding meaning and purpose in life is by including meaning and purpose in like little things, right? So if I had a Super Bowl party, that's, a big football party we have here in the United States, and it's everybody gets together and has a great time. And we used to have people over. We tell them to bring canned goods for the local food bank instead of bringing anything to eat or anything like that. And we would provide all the food. And so people would bring donations, and that's just a little way that we would attach meaning or purpose to something that we were doing that was fun, that we were doing anyway. My wife and I have done this oftentimes. Once I even decided that I wanted to climb Mount Rainier here in the States. That's 14,000 foot glaciated mountain. It's a technical climb. And when I did that, I used that occasion to raise $25,000 to build a special needs school in Guatemala. Now, that ended up being much bigger than I thought it would be. And as I was climbing that mountain, when I was exhausted and I was struggling to make it through the snowpack, and I was questioning my ability, I had in my backpack the letters and the cards from all the people that had supported me, and I had purpose in that climb. And so they were going to have to take me off of that mountain in a helicopter, right?
Okay.
That's what meaning and purpose does for us in our lives. When we attach it to our everyday living, it makes it so much more important. It makes it so much more than what it was. I say, find meaning and purpose make our everyday endeavors epic. I believe that having purpose in life is vital, and it's the difference between simply existing and living. And that's why I encourage people that is essential to our mental health and well-being. Scientific studies show it, history shows it. Finding and meaning and purpose is so important. And I think most of us, kind of think, yeah, it'd be nice to have purpose, a purpose for my life. And then we just go on and thinking it'll come find us. And I think we just need to be a lot more active about it.
Mm. Thank you, Jeff. I really love that you talk about having meaning and purpose. And even in the darkest time, we can have meaning and purpose, because like you said, it's not focusing on ourselves in that dark moment, but if we take that time to help somebody out, it helps us to refocus and think of the good. And that reminds me very of my own experience when I was facing that dark times, that I left the job and I didn't know what to do, and no money, nothing. And I was helping a girl to adjust to university, and that gave me purpose. It was simple. It was just inviting her for a meal every week. And, just talking to her, having her around, that gave me such hope that I was being here for her at that time that she had nobody around in that city. And that really gave me hope to keep looking forward, because I am being of help here for that person. Right. And now she's doing great things. I can't explain that she's now flourishing. She finds jobs, she's traveling, and I realized how in that dark time I didn't sit with my pain. If we sit and say, oh, poor me, but I decided to look up and see who I can help in that difficult time. And that's exactly what you are talking. Having purpose and meaning doesn't have to be doing something huge, Not everybody will become a public speaker like you, or would be an entrepreneur like us, It can be planting.
Yeah, buy for the guy behind you in line at the drive-through, or whatever it is. There's tons of little things that we can do each day, and some of them, it certainly doesn't have to be monetary. Even it can be compliments and the way we treat people. I try to smile at everybody I see, and I see grumpy people, and I smile at them, and they end up smiling back, and I think, well, there's another seed planted. So yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I love what you said as well, to smile at strangers. This is give me meaning. That person might have had a bad day, and you giving a smile.
Stuff. It can be little stuff. Yeah, little stuff that we do every day. Absolutely, you're right. And I know that there's research out there. I don't have it in front of me, Randy, but how about the effects that we get from helping others and from serving others. That's why I go to Guatemala twice a year. I help run the mission down there, and I go down there twice a year. And yeah, it's to help people, but I'll be honest with you, it's selfish reasons too. I go down there for soul care. I go down
Okay.
there because, number one, helps my gratitude, another one of my points, right? It helps me be grounded. But number two, helping people, oftentimes it's very true, helps us more than it helps them, because how it feeds our soul and our spirits.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you so much, Jeff. And would you please share with us what book or books that have impacted you the most?
Oh boy, that'd be tough. Yeah, it's a tough one because I'm not a big reader, Randy. I got to tell you, I'm
Okay.
not a huge reader, but I think that Dale Carnegie, How to Win Friends and Influence People. All right, might seem kind of silly because I'm an entrepreneur, right? I have my own business. I'm a salesman. This is the stuff that I am, and also an OG, which in jail means old guy. Dale Carnegie, but I think for its insight into the human psyche and how we operate as individuals. I just think it's such an incredible book. And you start digging into some of the meanings in there, and it really has a lot of insight as to why and how we function as human beings.
Thank you so much for sharing that book with us, Jeff. And would you please share with us what projects you've got, what initiatives that you are currently working on, and how can people stay updated or get in touch with you, Jeff?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Of course, you can visit me on Facebook. It's Jeff Higgins Speaking on Facebook, or on my website, jeff-higgins.com, Higgins. But yeah, I am in the process of writing a book, but I'm also looking for opportunity to speak to organizations, corporations, associations, and faith-based groups as well. Um, and so, a lot of people, and as a business owner, I acutely understand the effects that stress, anxiety, and depression has on our employees and on their lives, not just at work, but at home too. And some of the things that we're doing in our company to help people with that and to help them, not only be better employees, but hey, bonus, better folks at home too. So, by addressing these issues, and by talking about them and talking through ways that we can improve our mental health and well-being, we become better in a lot of aspects of life. So that's kind of a calling, if you will, for us in our business as well as in my personal life, as you can understand from my background. So please reach out to me on Facebook or on my website.
Fabulous. Thank you so much, Jeff, for sharing your story and giving tips to the audience how they can stay focused, how they can have meaning in life, meaning and purpose in life, which is very important, and for taking the time to be with us to share about your initiatives. So I would like to wish you a lot of success. And I am really excited about the books and your projects coming ahead. And it's been really, really inspiring connecting with you and listening to your story. I think you will touch a lot of lives. People need you. You are here for a purpose. And to everybody, I would like to say thank you for watching, for sharing, and for subscribing. And we'll see you all very soon. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Jeff.